In today's episode, we'll be taking you guys through 9 different steps for how you can get into Playboi Carti's music. Starting off with the first step being watching the Magnolia music video. And I feel like when you're discovering a new artist, it's really important to go after the song that blew them up, the song that kind of made their whole fan base assimilate together. And that's what Magnolia was for Playboi Carti. And it's this New York trap anthem where he's talking about selling crack cocaine.
What's the most iconic part of the song? Let me ask you that.
Oh, man. I mean, there's so many iconic parts, but it's just the fact that you're entering a new world with these refreshing ad-libs, these captivating performances from Carti.
And the visuals are beautiful as well. Like, I remember the first time I watched it, I was just so captivated by Playboi Carti's aesthetic. And I think that's something else that works for him on the side is like understanding his style, understanding what he does visually. It's such an important part in understanding his music as well. And that's something that I really like Playboi Carti, for early on in his career. He always had fresh style as well. He was always bringing up trends, and you see it now how it's so prominent within his music. But let's go on to step number 2. And I want you guys to check out Playboi Carti's best collaborations. And this was a massive moment for me too, especially early on in my listening, because, we're going to be going through 9 different steps. But for step 2, you kind of have to ease your way into the music. And I think that's the best way to do it right now is go through familiar artists. Example, like, going from, let's say, what he was dropping earlier to something, let's say, like New Champa, off of Self-Titled with A$AP Rocky. That's massive. So what do you think Playboi Carti's best collaboration is?
His best one. There's so many to think of, but I just love the fact that he can pretty much rap on any kind of beat, because if you look at his features, for example, Earthquake from Tyler, the Creator, that's more of a slow song with some piano chords that are super like delicate, unlike anything Playboi Carti's touched. But then you go to a song like Off the Grid where he's providing a lot of energy, a lot of exciting ad-libs, and you're like, holy fuck, I never thought he would sound good on a drill beat. And then you also have a song like Mr. Rage where he's rapping over an EDM style production. So do you think that he's able to have chemistry with practically any artist? Because I feel that way.
He did it with Drake, low key. Like even at that,
in 1993.
It's like it's not bad, dude. I'm serious. It's like I whenever I'm in Dark Lane demo tapes, I never really skip over it because Carti's baby voice really intrigues me, and that's something that we're going to be talking about later in this episode. But let's go on to the step 3. This is very important. Listen to Yamin and FLATBED freestyle while playing video games. And this is interesting, all right? When I was playing video games and I was coming up with the Pierre Bourne production, you hear all of that influence right away. And Pierre Bourne has spoken on, several different occasions how, when he was playing games like Street Fighter and etc., like that had a direct influence on the production, and especially early on into Carti's catalog, which is a great place to start, by the way. Understanding Pierre Bourne's production is so important because it's literally 50-50 with Carti, and he blends in so well on that type of production. So how do you feel about Pierre Bourne's beats throughout the early of his career, and how could someone get into that aspect of the music?
Yeah, I love the production because, like you said, Pierre Bourne literally uses the video games that he's played to influence the music that he's making. And what's amazing about Playboi Carti's music is that you can listen to his music while doing so many other things and being in so many different places. And I'm not saying Carti makes background music, but he doesn't really emphasize lyricism that much, so it's easy to drift away with his melodies and the synergy that he has with the production, which is awesome. And what I would do sometimes is play a game like Pac-Man World 2 on my PlayStation 2 and literally run through the game. It's a single-player game. You're collecting coins, and you have a song like Yamin playing where he's rapping about counting all this guap on him, and you're just going through the game, jumping on trampolines, and it's amazing to see how he can really be the perfect, I would say, artist to listen to while playing video games and doing a variety of things. So that's a pretty cool step. But the next step is making Carti's ad-libs click, because this is a super crucial part to really getting into his sound. Because when you look at his projects, for example, on Die Lit, 11% of all the words that he's rapping are ad-libs. Same thing for a project like his Self-Titled, his first ever project. There is 13% of the lyrics being ad-libs. That counts for 914 ad-libs on the entire project, and that comes to us from Hip Hop by the Numbers. So how do you feel about the ad-libs? Like, have you gotten into them? Have you eased into them?
This is the way I fell in love with Playboi Carti's ad-libs, and I remember this clear as day, all right? Like, this was when we were still in high school, and I was on Self-Titled because it dropped at the end of our, a secondary 5-year. And I was playing Number 9, bro, constantly just because of how crazy his ad-libs are on that song. He's doing nothing, dude. Like, he is literally just laying down all kinds of ad-libs on this.
But it's immersive.
Bro, it puts you into this universe that you didn't even know you wanted to be in, and I think that's the best part about Carti's ad-libs is who could even replicate them? Like, the originality and the way that he approaches them are super cool as well, and it's always been a favorite part of, you know, the Carti
Bro,
experience.
you know
for me.
what's funny is that he has a feature on Lana Del Rey's song called Summer Bummer, and he's literally just doing ad-libs on the entire
That's
track.
fine.
And he could literally make an album full of just ad-libs, and I would
sound
listen
fire.
to it,
But
bro.
he has to do it with Pierre Bourne, though. That's the
Absolutely.
thing. He has to do it with Pierre Bourne because I find like that's where his ad-libs work the best. But guys, let's go on to step 5. We're halfway through this list. Listen to Playboi Carti's discography in order. Playboi Carti self-titled, To Die Lit, to Whole Lotta Red. Then I think another big part about Playboi Carti's music is the catalog, right? Like, he is a catalog artist. He does take time and he crafts these visions and these soundscapes. So understanding the transitions and the artistic growth from discography to discography, regardless if you like it or not, is very important in
Yes.
understanding at, you know, to where he's at now and where he might move in the future. Oh, I'm sorry, I was playing with a little rubber band. But even at that, like, if you look at Whole Lotta Red right now, where do you think he strived the best in his artistic evolution, and where do you think maybe some weaknesses are, you know, looking now forward?
I just think that a reason why he's far ahead than some of his peers is the fact that he's really leveled up on each project in the sense of always bringing in a new flavor, a new sound, and all 3 projects have made serious waves in the industry, but they all sound so different from each other. And with Carti, what I would suggest is literally listening to his self-titled for about a week or 2. Only bump that project, feel out the songs, play some bangers in the car, get familiar with the music, and then move on to Die Lit. Treat it the same way. Have a good 2-3 week period to digest it, and then go into Whole Lotta Red, which is his most polarizing record because he brings in the screamo delivery and starts changing up his style a bit. So if you really give your time, you know, if you dedicate some time to getting into all 3 of these projects, you're bound to fall in love with at least one of them.
Absolutely, and you're bound to take out some songs, and that's another thing is within the discography, like you can maybe even add some songs that you like into a playlist and try to grow off of that. And another big part about, you know, the whole Playboi Carti experience is being invested into the community and the fandom, and I think that's why at step 6 you have to follow Playboi Carti on Twitter, because there's been so many moments where I think he's dropping something new on Twitter and then boom, it doesn't end up happening, but it plays into my anticipation for the next record, and then I'm like, okay, what's like, remember how the Whole Lotta Red rollout went on Twitter at first? Like, I think it was in April of 2020 where there was just certain shit that was happening. Everyone was thinking, okay, this is dropping.
I know.
Does it come to Christmas, all right?
And yeah, bro. And it's just the way that he was so cryptic with his tweets, making you think, okay, the album's coming in a month, the album's coming in 3 months. And then he's kind of just putting out these teasers where he's in the studio, and then you get to be familiar with his communication style, which is super unorthodox because some words are written out with like 1 capital letter, 1, you know, minuscule letter, for example. And
it's really cool because not only that, but I find it also kind of gives you a better community experience. Like, think about how tight the community is in the Playboi Carti fandom world. Like, bro, these guys will literally do anything for Playboi Carti.
There's a name for like his language. They call it CARTI'S for like, just the way that he writes out.
It's a crazy community, and they really treat his music as if, you know, it's scripture. Like, you know, this is timeless stuff, and to a certain extent, like, I understand where they're coming from because they've watched Playboi Carti grow, and, you know, he's been, you know, so active with his community over the years. So
yeah, and it's a great way to actually see his personality shine bright and to really get to know him. And speaking of getting to know him, the next step is going to a Playboi Carti concert with friends, and he puts on some of the wildest shows that you'll ever witness. And
You've gone to them.
I've been to 2 Playboi Carti concerts, and the mosh pits go crazy. You have Carti screaming at the top of his lungs. Like, when you look at how much passion he brings into these shows, you do not want to, you know, not be a part of that experience just because of what he's able to do. And I remember my first Playboi Carti show, I think he played Magnolia 9 times in a row, and each and every single time the crowd was more and more hyped up. And what's amazing too is that Playboi Carti uses a lot of repetition in terms of his lyrics, but the more that you hear those bars repeated, the more they click with you, the more the melodies feel sticky.
Have you ever seen his Whole Lotta Red performances online, though? Dude, those crowds look absolutely incredible. Like, I was talking to Nick about that, and we were like, man, you know, like, at Metro, being able to see Playboi Carti, like, do that, and, like, being able to see, like, what the crowds are like now with that different type of aesthetic is going to be wild. Like, that's what I think.
If you want to enter a mosh pit, at your own risk, because they're pretty fucking wild. But let's move on now to the next step on this list. Step number 8 is learning how to appreciate Playboi Carti's baby voice. And I feel like at this point, it's one of the most imitated and iconic voices that hip-hop has seen, I would say, in the last decade. And what's really interesting is that I like that Playboi Carti uses his baby voice just because I think for a long time, the popular, I would say, tone of voice in hip-hop was to display this tough demeanor where you have a deep voice. But Carti went against the grain and became popular using this baby voice. For example, on songs like At Me and a song like T-Next featuring Future, he sounds like an infant almost. And
I think he's one of the first guys to ever make it sound good, though, because there were guys that were doing it before. But I think what I liked about Carti's version of it is that it had my head bopping, because I wasn't a big fan of Meh. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I kind of feel as if there is certain things in his catalog that display it better. But what I do like about it is, to a certain extent, he needed to go on that route because he needed to provide a different type of performance that he did on Die-Lit or on Self-Titled. Like, I don't imagine a world where Carti would have been able to replicate those types of aesthetics on a different project. Again, it just would have gotten boring. So I think that's where the baby voice works the best, is kind of at this refresher point. You know, you've gone through so much of his old material, you're fucking with Whole Lotta Red, and it's because, you know, he's bringing a different type of performance. But all right, guys, we're at the end of our list. Let's go on to step 9. Play the song Sky every single morning. And this was one that Lou wanted to include on here, and I was like, you know what, you're right, bro. Like, a big part of, you know, my experience getting into different artists is just playing them while I start my day, you know, whether that's doing work, you know, working out, you know, let's say brushing my teeth, you know, cooking scrambled eggs, whatever it is. You play an artist and a certain artist and you lock into that vibe, you will definitely fall in love with his or her music.
100%. And listen, guys, I mean, if you wake up to this and play this every day for a year, like, you might turn into a vamp. Who knows, guys? But seriously speaking, the song Sky is an amazing track off a Whole Lotta Red. And I just think that it's pretty cool to listen to as a morning song, because he's literally rapping about waking up in the morning, brushing his teeth, and starting off his day by smoking 10 blunts, which, I mean, I don't know if it's the most nutritious breakfast, but I mean, if that's what Carti likes to go into, then, you know, I'm okay with it, bro.
With a side of cornflakes, you know?
Why not, bro? But I just think that, like, something that really got me into Playboi Carti's music is really drilling certain songs into my memory and falling in love with them.
What was that song, though? What was that one song where you're like, fuck, dude, like, I'm locked
Half and Half.
Half and Half was the first one?
Self-Titled,
I'm not going to lie to you, bro. My first one was Number 9.
That's a great song,
bro.
too.
I think Number 9 was the first song where I was just consistently playing it, bro. Like, it didn't stop for me, and it was just so weird because I didn't know if I enjoyed it at first. Like, I was just like, dude, what is this?
I know.
And then you have to go multiple listens in, and then you start to figure out what's actually being executed. And, you know, the one way I want to end off this episode is that, you know, give every single artist a chance at the end of the day, you know, and go into the music and live with it, because, you know, there's certain things that you'll only find out with experience, and I think that's super important. So, guys, thank you guys so much for coming through. We really appreciate you, and we'll catch you in the next one.